Hello everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin, and today we're going to be looking into any energy, insights, and guidance on their way in for you over these next 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, so welcome back, beautiful kindred spirits, and anyone new who may be joining us here for maybe the first, second, or third time. It's wonderful to have you here. Do feel free to subscribe if you'd like to, as we are close to 1,000 subscribers, and I'd love to have you here to read for every single week, and especially for these 2-week readings and monthly readings to stay on top of the energy on its way in for you. But like I said, we're going to be looking into your next 2 weeks here, with big holidays and things showing up, or whenever you might be deciding to watch this, even farther in the future. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and start looking into these piles here in a moment. But I do want to mention, if you're interested in a relationship reading, I'm doing private and personal relationship readings this month for both digital and snail mail options. There's 3 different tiers in which you can choose from for whatever would be most useful to you, as these readings aren't only focused on romance readings, although they might be if you'd like to, but we can look into any kind of relationships. All right, you can do your relationship with your sister, or relationship with a friend, relationship with a family member, or anyone else, even a spirit guide, or someone beyond the veil. So if that interests you, do feel free to check out all the information down below on those. I'll only be offering these through the month of February exclusively, and do feel free to check those out and discover them down below. But we're going to go ahead and look at these piles. So here for pile number 1, and with all of the piles, we have little hearts here to go with the theme. But here for pile number 1, we have this piece of tiger's eye. It's very orange. It has these really beautiful, rich colors to them. But that is pile number 1. Here for pile number 2, we have this piece of rose quartz in this heart shape. It's very smooth. It has such a milky feel to it. But that is pile number 2. And here for pile number 3, we have this more funky shaped heart in this clear quartz. It has a ton of rainbows within it and all these really beautiful little fractured shapes. So that is pile number 3. So before you start zooming off to the timestamps, I just want to invite you to take a deep cleansing and intuitive breath here to really connect with your intuition, connect with the earth, connect with yourself, and just take a moment here with the piles. So let's go ahead and take that deep breath together here now. So as always, there's no right or wrong way to choose your piles here. You can choose all 3 of the piles, choose between the piles, flip-flop between them, go to a pile and change your mind. There really is no right or wrong way. There's no rule book here, so feel free to do and choose as many or as little as you'd like. All of the timestamps will be down below in the description alongside the chapter marks of this video, so you can find each one as quickly and as easily as possible. And also you can check out those private and personal readings if you'd like one, as that's a great way to not only support yourself and support your relationships, but also the channel. So I truly do appreciate it. The Kindred tip jar is down below alongside my Instagram community as well, if you want to check that out afterwards. So with all of that in mind, let's go ahead and get started with pile number 1. Hello group 1, if you've decided to choose this little tiger eye heart, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set it here for you so you can see it during your reading today, as we are going to be using the new method that I've been doing for these 2-week ahead readings, where we're really going to be heavily focusing on the charms and using some tarot charms as well. So we're going to actually start this out by moving this over here, and we're going to be playing around with some numbers and some letters to start us out versus starting right into the energy. This is going to give us a lot of information as we go on, and then you can kind of pinpoint those personal messages that are coming in for you. So do feel free to start getting yourself settled. I know some of you say that you light a candle. Some of you listen to these while you do some chores around the house, or, anything else that really relaxes you, gets you calmed down. I personally like to have some water nearby, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So first off, we're going to look into your letters. So these are going to be specifically any names, dates, places, or initials that might show up to give us a little bit more context into things that might be showing up later in the reading. So let's go ahead and get started with those. So to start us off here, you have a few letters showing up. So we first have only one letter. So we have the L showing up, which doesn't show us a lot towards communication. I like to look at the first letters that show up to show us maybe how you might be communicating more non-verbally, more aggressively, more reserved or bubbly. But so far we only have one letter, so it's not really showing us a lot there. So it's probably going to be more breezy. We also have L and C. A was followed by 2 O's and R. I'm seeing call, not entirely showing up here, so I feel like maybe you're waiting on a call or you're trying to call someone this week. Maybe it's something that you've been putting off, more short term, seeing as we don't have the other L. We could also see cal here, maybe like calendar, maybe something that's really important that's on your calendar right now that you need to really put a lot of focus on. So maybe a very specific event is happening this week that is really calling your attention within your calendar. So if you don't use a planner, you don't use a calendar, then this might be the week to maybe brush up on something that maybe you forgot is showing up this week, right? So that you can be on top of your game there. I'm not seeing a lot showing up here. We're not getting a ton with the letters, so I'm going to go ahead and just set them aside, and we're going to go ahead and move on to your numbers now. So with the numbers, it's very similar, but this could show you specific dates that maybe you should look for on your calendar. These could also be angel numbers or spirit numbers or anything else along those lines. Just feel free to see what comes in for you. So let's see, group 1. Okay, so we've got quite a few numbers here. The first one showing up here are 5, 3, and 6, or 6, 3, and 5. We also have underneath here the number 11 as well as 9. So these maybe are, again, certain dates or things like that, but they could also be showcasing specific numbers that you've been seeing a lot in a row. We have more odd numbers than we do even, so that also could be showcasing a little bit of a lack of balance somewhere, maybe within your calendar, within those things. But I'm going to go ahead and leave you with these numbers, and we're going to start moving into the actual context of the reading. So what we're going to be doing is pulling you one specific card to really dive into one energy that's going to be most prevalent within these next 2 weeks, right? So this is like the main theme, the big energy. We're going to look deeper into it when we move to the board with the charms and everything later on, but I want to look first into that main focus that we have showing up here from Spirit. So here we go, group 1. What do you have coming in within these next 2 weeks? What is this main energy that's showing up, the big theme, or an energy that's just most prevalent for you over these next 2 weeks? Oh, I felt it try to come out there. Okay, here we are. So we're going to reveal what that is here in a second. So let's see. Looks like you have the Knight of Wands. Very interesting. The Knight of Wands has such a forward movement kind of energy to it. So immediately, because we had so much showing up with that calendar feeling and we have so many numbers here, I can also see that things are going to be really progressing for the rest of the month for you, especially if you felt like the beginning of the month was really slow or just things weren't really happening. These next few couple weeks is just going to probably start moving and progressing forward. Not so rapidly that I don't think you have you're holding the reins. You still kind of have it under control, but if you've been waiting for things to start moving and to progress and finding a little bit more momentum under the actions in which you are taking, I can see that being very prevalent for you within this these first couple of weeks, these last couple of weeks rather, of the month of February, or whenever you might be watching this. Alongside that, there's a lot of determined energy to this too, and passion. I do see planning and drive. Out of all of the nights, I feel like this is the one that has a really nice balance, similar to the Knight of Pentacles, which can be really slow going and chill. This one has a little bit more momentum without being so intense, without going so quickly or feeling overwhelmed. There's a lot more capability here and stability within this card. So I want to look a little bit further, and we're going to see what else you might have showing up here, and we're going to move to the charms. So for this portion of the reading, what we're going to be doing is moving straight to the charms over here on my little embroidered map that I've created for you all to map out your next 2 weeks. So we're going to be looking first into what is showing up here in the center, which is just going to be more information on this Knight of Wands, more information on that main theme, the things that are going to be showing up most prevalently. And then we're going to look into these two little noodle shapes here. And this will be week 1 and this will be week 2 in their specifics. And anything that falls farther out we'll talk about even more. So we're going to start out first by looking into the specific tarot tiles here that I have, which are the Charmcast Tarot, in case you're curious. But we're going to see what they have to say first. So do feel free to send in your energy as I mix these up. It really does make a difference, especially in these collective readings. So let's go group 1 for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so interestingly, you already have a few things showing more momentum. We've got the Page of Wands, so directly next to the Knight of Wands here, alongside the Ace of Swords. We have Temperance down here, and we also have the Page in the Pentacles suit, which I find really interesting. And then 2 that we'll reveal as we get farther into the reading and see what's showing up there. But do feel free to send your energy in through time and space, and we'll see out those charms as well. Let's go ahead and mix these up. Okay, let's go ahead and zoom you in so you can see everything a little bit more clearly here. What I find interesting is you have 2 charms already immediately that this one I had to pull out immediately. Like I picked it up and it just felt so tingly. So this one feels really prevalent, but you have 2 charms showcasing not only momentum, but also high focus. So if any of you have where you can get hyper focused or hyper fixated on something, that might show up a lot within your next 2 weeks. So if that's something that you want to be aware of, that's something I just think I need to preface. But let's go ahead and begin first with what showed up in the center. So I'll go ahead and let you see even closer there. So here in the center, we already have that Page of Wands showing up here alongside that very quick communication that I'm getting here. There's something about this Ace that is just really giving me this feeling that like it's a fresh new start for you. I feel like you haven't been able to maybe communicate or being able to talk to certain people in your life recently. Maybe you've been having a hard time just being able to reach them, or there could just be like a lack of communication in some way. And I feel like you're able to either, again, call them long distance. There's something about calling, about being able to get closer to someone, because the Page of Wands is such an adventurer. There's something about that gap closing or coming closer. So I feel like if you have if you're in a long distance relationship with someone, whether that's a friendship or someone over like online, I just feel like if you've been missing their communication or there's been something missing within there, that's going to be clearing up a lot within these next 2 weeks. There's growth happening here as well. We have the growth jungle charm, so there is stronger ties that are going to be growing because of that. But let's see what was maybe not being communicated here. So we have the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune has a lot to do also with time passing. So again, I feel like this definitely is related to time. Maybe it's just been a very long time since you've been able to talk to this person, or again, the distance thing, but something's been kind of cut off or held back for a while, and things are bubbling back up to the surface or are being able to close that gap. And that's going to create a lot more growth within you and the person that you are communicating with, or that community even that you're communicating with. If this isn't a specific person, if you don't feel like it's a person that you're reconnecting or kindling with, it can also just be, again, that forward momentum that you're starting to feel come into play. Alongside that, we are going to go ahead and look at what you have here for your first week. So like I said, you do have that directional charm. This is a little arrowhead. Whenever I see this one, it represents momentum in a direction that you're trying to take, right? So this is actually putting action towards something. And it's happening around these 2 moon cycles. So on the sort of waning half of the moon heading towards the new moon, you can look it up on a moon app or a calendar of some sort if you want to know the specifics here. But I do believe if you're watching this as of when I'm posting it, we are heading towards that new moon. So you're definitely having this energy start to show up very quickly as to when this is being posted. But the other things that you have showing up here, which I thought was interesting, is you have so many court cards, right? You had that knight that we were showcasing earlier. We have the Page of Wands, and then now we have another page, but this page is upside down. This is the Page of Pentacles. And in this case, this Page of Pentacles is showcasing that whatever this is that you are whatever it is that you want to work on and put your action, focus, and mind to is more of a passion project or something related to like giving you excitement, feeling happy about it. And it's not about the money. It's not about the monetary value of it. It may even be that if you're working towards something for someone, you're maybe not going to be compensated for it, but that's okay because it wasn't really about that. So there's something showing up there around that like it's not really kind of about that physical aspect, or it's not about physically being in the room with this person that you might be reconnecting and kindling this passion with, or this communication, bridging that gap between, because it's not showing like the clothes. This is like a little clothesline clip. What are they called? I can't remember. I'll put it on the screen. But the point is, what I was getting close, I was getting the idea of that closing that gap again, showcasing here. But it's not about having to be physically in the space with them for you to close that gap. A call, a FaceTime, a Skype, a Zoom meeting, whatever it might be. Even if it's digitally or even if it's over the phone, I still think that there's going to be a lot of value in it, and it's being showcased here many times. Otherwise, just in general, you're not going to be really that focused or that interested in maybe really work life or trying to get anything done there. It might be a more chill week when it comes to work and other things. They're just not really your priority. But alongside that, we also have a lot of balance showing up here. Again, more of that closing the gap kind of feeling when you look at these 2 cups, right? They're mixing and mingling again. And we have the charm that showcases usually that this is related to a person. Whenever I see the pawn, it tells me that there's a person involved in this card. So again, a lot of mixing and mingling of energies. So I feel like it's just telling us like the same thing over and over again. So I'm not going to talk too much more on that first week, but let's go ahead and move to the second week here, where you have a few other charms. We have more of that focus, drive, and determination showing up here. With this charm, whenever I see it, it is one of those like little threaders that you can use to thread a needle. So it takes a lot of precision, a lot of focus to be able to get a task done in that same way. So whatever it is that you're putting a lot of focus to is related to the Knight of Swords, which is all about communication, but it's also about skills. The Knight of Swords is, and it was even kind of upside down. It had that feeling of not showing itself entirely. So I think you're maybe brushing up and focusing up on maybe a skill that you've been learning. Maybe it has to do with these passions, maybe it doesn't, but just if you've been working on a skill, say you've been learning piano or guitar, or you've been learning a skill on the computer, or it could be really any skill, right? It can even be like communication. I just think you're going to be putting a lot of focus and a lot of hard work into it within the next, the second week or the end of February here. And then your last charm is being showcased here with the illusions charm, right? So when I look at this, it looks like a little visual or optical illusion, right? And it also says two brothers at the top. So this usually can represent possibly some conflict or illusions happening within the family or within a chosen family. So it could be that someone's not showing you their full self, someone's kind of masking something, but it also can just showcase right now that there's something underfoot that either you're not saying or someone else isn't saying, that it almost feels like someone's sort of biting their tongue, like they don't want to say what they really mean. So if you are coming across that within the second week, it might be just really important to also open that form of communication with them. Maybe not focus on it too deeply, though, that it ends up becoming a problem, because, sometimes we don't hide or hold back information because of a malicious intent. Sometimes it's just because they're not ready to tell you about something. So just tread that a little bit more carefully and a little bit more tenderly. So overall, those are all of the charms and cards that you got here today. I'll go ahead and move this back over so you can see the whole little space here. But I do hope that this was useful and helpful to you for your next 2 weeks. If it was, do be sure to give this video a like or let me know in the comments down below how it resonated. You're also welcome to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as I put out new readings every single Monday for love, career, spirituality. I'm also hoping next week I'm going to be putting up some more on charm casting in terms of some more educational stuff. So if that interests you, do be sure to stay tuned. If you also want to support the channel, do be sure to check out everything in the description down below on my private and personal readings, as I am doing relationship readings this month for digital and snail mail versions, which are so much fun when it comes to relationship readings. And this can be any relationship you want to look into, right? So it doesn't have to be just romantic ones. If you want to look into your relationship with your grandma who's passed, or a relationship with yourself, with spirit, with a friend, or anyone else, do be sure to check those out down below, as I'll be offering those for the rest of February. So I do believe that is everything. Thank you so much for joining me here on the channel. It really does mean a lot, and I hope you got something out of it as well. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 2, if you've decided to choose this little rose quartz heart, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set it here so you can see it during your reading today, as we are going to be looking into your reading through charms mostly. I've been doing this format for the last 2 weeks, and this will be the third time I've been doing it. So if you are enjoying it, do let me know in feedback down below. It really does make a difference and lets me know if you're enjoying these or not, or if you'd like to see the previous format. But we're going to be using the charms here quite heavily, using the tarot charms as well as my charm set here. And next week I'm also going to be looking into more specifics on my charms, so if that's been something that you've been wanting to see, do stay tuned for that. But like I said, we're going to be looking into your next 2 weeks here, and we're going to be starting off with the letter tiles and numbers to look into communication, any important dates, or anything else that might be showing up for you. But do feel free to get settled and get yourself ready to go for this reading with whatever way that is for you. I know some of you light a candle. I've heard some of you enjoy listening to this more podcast style and putting it on and doing some chores around the house, or just cuddling up to it. Whatever really makes you feel comfortable and ready and has your intuition flowing, we're going to go ahead and get started. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space, and we're going to pull you some letters. So these are going to be specifically any letters related to any dates or people's names, initials might show up, or any oracle messages that I see. So do feel free, as always with these readings, to see what comes up for you with your own intuition. But let's go ahead and look together. Okay, we've got a lot of letters here, and a lot of them showing upwards too, which is giving me like a really open, bubbly feeling. So I feel like your next 2 weeks has a lot of open communication, a lot of like kind of putting yourself on, not necessarily on the line, but like opening yourself up a little bit more to people. I can see you showing yourself a little bit more, showing especially through like some nonverbals as well. So just feeling that bubbly, not overly excited, but like just like really overtly excited, openly excited about something. But then the letters that we have showing up here, I'll go ahead and zoom you in so you can see a little bit closer. But the letters that we have here are W, O, A, and then we also have the letter E, followed by another E and U. And the ones that are upside down here are X and O. The fact that you had X and O afterwards just immediately made me think of like tic-tac-toe, which is making me think of like strategy, or there's something about like moving pieces around, moving maybe furniture in your house around, or physically changing up your space in some way. There's something showing up there about like physical movement. But I do want to look the rest. I also felt like I saw like whoa almost being spelled here. Like it makes me think of like whenever you go to like sports games, not that I go to a lot of sports games, it's not really my thing, but when people like do the wave, there's just such an excitable feeling I'm already getting around your week. There's something bubbly, there's something kind of like moving underneath the surface, but I can't exactly put the words to it here yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave these here. Do feel free to take your time and see what else is showing up for you specifically. Whenever I see the X as well, just to be aware that maybe an X might be reaching out within these next 2 weeks as well. So that might be something that I'm feeling where could be bubbling under the surface as well. Maybe not in an excited way, but that's just something to be aware of for a few of you. So the next things that we're going to look into are the letters, or these are the numbers rather, and these are going to showcase any specific dates that might be showing up, but they also might be showcasing to us any specific angel numbers, spirit numbers, repeating numbers that you see a lot in your life, and maybe they might give you a little bit more information as well. So for the next 2 weeks, group 2. Ooh, we've got 2 11s here. We have 1111 showing up, both in the color orange. So there's something aligning. I see maybe something that you've been trying to manifest or wish into existence might be showing up, or those first cogs are starting to move towards that for you. Also, this can represent birthdays, celebrations. A lot of spirit numbers are related to 1111. So we also have 12 showing up here. So again, that's showcasing more forward movement. We have the number 1 as well as the number 5. So maybe the 15th, the 11th, the 12th. Really important things that are happening around those dates, which are both previous to when this reading is coming out as well as just after. So these are things to keep in mind. But overall, I'm feeling most called to both the 15 and the 11 message. So I'm going to go ahead and move these aside, and we'll move on to the next part of the reading. So we're going to now pull you one card, basically. We're going to pull you one card for the main overall overarching energy that's showing up for you over these next 2 weeks, and what is most prevalent and important to bring up from spirit right now. So we're going to see what that is for you. We're only going to be pulling one card from this physical deck, but we'll be moving into the charms after to get a lot more of the details. So let's see. Do feel free to send your energy in, as this is a collective reading. It really does make a difference. So the next 2 weeks for group 2 here, what is that main thread, that main theme, possibly to go along with that bubbly energy here? So we have the 3 of Wands, a lot of forward movement, forward thinking as well. And interestingly, I was also feeling kind of called to the card just below it, which is the 2 of Wands. So there's a lot of like forward movement, thinking ahead, kind of planning your next move. But you're moving away from the planning stage of thinking, hey, maybe I'll try doing this, maybe I'll make a vision board, maybe I'll try something out, and this is actually exploring it, actually embarking upon the new journey, whatever it might be, right? You can see here that they are embarking on a journey or thinking about it, about taking on one of these ships and moving forward. So it doesn't have to be a physical journey like I was talking about. earlier, like with physically moving around or moving house or moving physically, but that is showing up here. So I do feel like for some of you, you might actually be moving places, like in terms of your job. Maybe you're moving up in a position. I could see that you're moving up in a relationship, or moving, sidestepping to another space. Something about physical movement is showing up here in terms of whatever you're putting action to those plans that you've been making in the background, but we're going to see more information as we go. Regardless, the main word showing up here is moving from that planning stage and moving it into reality, right? So we're actually taking something that we had in our mind and we're manifesting it into our reality. So that's what I see here for you for your letters and numbers and that main energy, but we're going to move on to the rest of your reading here with the charms. So like I said, we're going to move on to the charms here with my little embroidered mat here for charm casting. So we're going to move to the charms for those oracle specific messages, but we're going to start first with the tarot, the Charmcast tarot tiles. The way that we're going to set this up, in case you are new here, we're going to be looking into those main energies here that are showing up in the center. They're going to be relating more back to that main card that you have of the Three of Wands. But then we're also going to look into week 1 here with this little noodly shape, and then week 2 here on the opposite side, so that we can get those details. And anything that falls in the moon phases, we'll talk about that as well. But let's go ahead and get started. And to start that off, we're going to look into these tarot tile charms. So do feel free to send your energy in. Again, this is a collective reading, so it really does make a difference by kind of taking your time here with me. But let's go ahead and see what's showing up for you. Okay, so we didn't actually have anything show up here within the tarot charms for the center, but we did have a few show up here upright. We have the moon as well as the Knight of Wands. So we'll see what else there is showing up here as we move forward, but I want to see first what's showing up on its own. So do feel free to send your energy in here as well, and we'll cast these too. So group 2 the next 2 weeks. Gosh, you have a lot going on in your second week, that's for sure. So we had some that fell on their own, so I'm going to see where they fall. Okay, so you have a lot showing up in the second week. As you can tell, it's heavily flooded with a lot of energy over here, and a few that are falling a little bit farther off on the board, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But here in the center, the only thing that you have showing up here is, and I felt really called to pulling this specific one out at the beginning, and it is the number 2011 that's showing up here on the back side. Also the number brown and first. There's something about, again, that 11-11-11 message that's repeating and repeating. The fact that you have 311 showing up is definitely showing that this is a really good time to manifest something into the present moment, so if you have an opportunity that shows up within these next 2 weeks that you've been hoping for, trying to manifest, you've been very positive, bubbly, and excited about, definitely take it, or really consider it and take your time with it. But there's a really good possibility that this is a really good time to take that, to take advantage of whatever possibility that might show up there. And it might give you a lot of stability and also, again, more of that nautical message, showcasing those little boats that we were talking about earlier, of really casting off, pulling up the anchor, taking away that feeling of having to keep it safe or do things that are always safe and comfortable, and like what ifs and all of that kind of hang out in our head when we kind of get too in our heads. And this is about just casting off, going out to sea, seeing what would happen if you pull up that anchor a little bit. So we have that showing up here for your main energy. Again, a lot of that navigation, moving forward, following your true north. But alongside that, here on your first week, we have, like I said, the moon. And I think it's interesting that you got the moon here because it usually represents illusions or not having the full picture, right? Whereas in the sun, you have all of the information visually, you can see everything, it's much clearer, much crisper. At night, especially during the full moon, right, shadows get cast farther, branches outside your window sound much creepier or scarier, and so there could be something that you might be embarking on that you just don't have all of the pieces, you don't know, things are still in an unknown state, that are showing up here with the moon. But I want to see what else you have here. Oh, okay, so you also have the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords is showcasing to me what I feel like is you maybe thinking of the worst case scenario, especially since it was upside down and showing up near this moon. It makes me think that this is like you maybe catastrophizing in your head, thinking the what ifs in the negative side, which we all have done, right? Especially with things that we're excited about or we're hoping for, right? There's like, I put that job application out, and then you think of everything that could possibly go wrong. So this is just sort of not necessarily like this will happen, but just that that's sort of showing up in your mind space within that first week. But what I find interesting is near that first week, you also have the teamwork charm of the this little bee. So this makes me think of like, beehives, they work all together with that hive mind, they think together. So I am also getting this feeling that you have some others that are going to maybe come in, give you a possible outside of your head scenario, give you some other maybe positive what ifs or some support that might be coming from an outside source. And then you also have, again, more of that teamwork energy. But I do think they're going to shine a light on some other scenarios, some other ways, or even shine a new opportunity your way. Because we have this little it just makes me think of like a spotlight, like someone's putting a spotlight on something, or makes me think of like a lighthouse, even if we keep with that nautical theme. It's showing you what to avoid and what to also shine light on. So I'm really seeing that within this first week, you might have someone come in to be a little bit more supportive, to give you another take on things that maybe you're like, oh man, that could go wrong, or maybe I shouldn't put myself out there, or maybe I shouldn't rearrange my entire living room today, right? Whatever it might be, big or small, I think someone's going to help you, give you a little bit more perspective there, especially since we also have it next to the release moon of the last quarter moon. This can represent timing if you follow the moon phases, but it can also just showcase to us that's what's showing up there, around the idea of releasing a little bit. I've talked many times that the Ten of Swords here has a lot to do with sort of that idea of acupuncture and release, of like pulling these swords out, and now you can finally release and move forward without feeling as tied down by them. Whereas on the other side, for week number 2, we have a lot more showing up here. So do feel free to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. But the things that we have here, we have the letter M showing up here towards sort of the beginning of the week with the number 10. So 10 being close to 11, something on the horizon moving towards that 11. You have a little bit more of a positive point of view on things because we do have the rose-colored glasses. So whenever I see this, it makes me think that you're seeing things through like a filtered lens, right? So I do see that you might have, again, someone who had come in to give you maybe a new perspective, kind of open your eyes to it, give you a little bit more of an optimistic spin on things. And that might be kind of showing up in your second week and giving you a little bit more of that momentum or courage to move forward. The things that we have showing up here in terms of that, we also have more of that opportunity showing up to you. So we have the 4 of Cups here, and as you can see, they have 3 cups on the bottom and then a 4th one being given to them by spirit, by this person who may have been shining that light, or someone else who is giving you an opportunity. But most of the time, the person next to the tree is just feeling a little bit too shy to take it, or they're feeling like maybe they don't deserve it or something like that. There's something blocking them from actually taking it or even seeing that the opportunity is available to them. So I do see that, again, there is this feeling of like, yes, we're going to embark. Yes, we're going to go ahead and take it on. Yes, I'm very excited. But then there's something that just keeps getting in your path. But I do think that optimistic point of view is going to start flipping that for you, especially since we flipped this card. And you might be gaining a new perspective on that in relation to the previous week. Other things we have showing up here, we have the bear paw charm. So this represents, whenever I see this one, it makes me think it's just the brand name. It's not really about the actual charm here, but it makes me think of, you know what, actually, I'm getting a different feeling than I normally do from this charm. Usually it represents hibernating or not hibernating, but what I'm getting here is that where I found this charm was actually on a walk, and it was just sort of on the path, and then if I hadn't looked at it, I would have just immediately walked past it and would have never found it, and it would have never fallen into my hands for this collection. So I feel like for you, there might be something, again, that's falling into your path, falling into your lap, but it's so small or so seemingly unobvious to take that I feel like you might just walk past it. So keep your eyes a little bit more focused and a little bit more on the ball for the next 2 weeks, and especially in the second week, and you might see something show up for you. We also have some nostalgia charm showing up here, as well as some possibly feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but I'm mostly just feeling called to those charms that I already mentioned. The other things that we have showing up here, we have the King of Wands, and we also have the star showing up here. So we have the star, which usually represents a refresh, a change, a reframing of something, especially after a really hard or difficult time. So like I said, you're starting to kind of change that perspective, find some guidance, more of that guiding star feeling, and more of that perspective is showing up here too. So I think over the next 2 weeks, your attitude and perspective on life is going to really tell you whether those things are going to manifest or not. It's going to have a very high impact on what shows up for you and what doesn't, based on if you'll notice it or not. But I do see that you're going to have a more open perspective in the second week, and more opportunities falling in your lap, right? We have the bell. The bell represents new opportunities. We have the fiery momentum and the passionate, exciting expression that's coming from the King of Wands here. And you also have the Knight showing up next to that King of Wands, which can represent that this is both a knight or a king, but either way, I'm just getting forward momentum. The Knight, whenever I see this, if you guys aren't familiar with the Knight in chess, it can move around pieces, it can jump around things. So I really see that you're also going to be finding a way around any obstacles that are going to be in your path in the second week as well, and that realizing that, I feel like you realized that the biggest obstacle that you're going to have in your path is your relation to the path itself, as in your perspective to any opportunity that comes your way, your perspective to how much you feel that you are given or that you are worth, or whatever it might be. I feel like a lot of what might hold you back is more internal than it is external. So that's really what I'm getting here for your next 2 weeks. I do hope this was useful to you. I'm going to go ahead and let you see these again if you'd like to take a screenshot or anything like that. But if you did enjoy this reading, do be sure to give this video a like. It really does help the channel a ton. You can also let me know in the comments down below how it resonated. Again, any feedback is super appreciated. And you can also subscribe if you haven't already. Do feel free to subscribe to the channel. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers here, which is super exciting, as I've been doing these readings for almost 3 years now, and I'd love to have you a part of these as I put out new readings every single Monday for love, career, spirituality. I'm even going to do some more readings with those charms and educational videos, so do stay tuned. Feel free to subscribe, and you can also check out in the description down below. I'm doing relationship readings right now for both digital and snail mail readings for private relationship readings. So all through February, you can get a relationship reading on any relationship you want to look into. It doesn't have to be romantic, but it can be. But you can also look into readings on any relationship, really. One with a sibling, a family member, a friend, one with a spirit guide, or yourself. Whatever you really wish to look into, we can do that. But all of the information on that is down below. So with all of that said, I do hope that you found this useful. I'm wishing you the best for your next 2 weeks, sending so much more optimism your way. And I hope this has given you a little bit more of that perspective you've been hoping for. And yeah, with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and move on to group 3, but I wish you the best. Bye. Hello group 3, if you've decided to choose this specific clear quartz little heart, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set it here so you can see it during your reading here today, as we are going to be using very heavily the charms again today. I've been doing this for the last two-week readings that I've done on this channel, and here on the third, I really wanted to change things up again and keep continuing on with the charms that we've been doing and really heavily focusing on them for these. So do feel free to send me any feedback if you've been watching those or you've been kind of staying along within these readings. I would love to know your feedback down below if you enjoy this format or if you like the previous one that we were doing more so last year. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started though. Like I said, we're going to be starting off here with the charms. But first off, we're actually going to start off with the letter tile and number charms so that we can get kind of feel into those more specific details and then move even deeper as we go. So do feel free to get ready and settled and comfortable in any way you'd like for these. As always, you're open to your own interpretation of the reading and your own intuition. I always welcome that within these. It's sort of a co-creation sort of thing, so do feel free to open your mind and see what comes through for you for these next 2 weeks. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So first off, we're going to look into the letter tiles here and then the numbers, as well as the rest of the reading. We'll be moving into those charms. So for the letter tiles, these are going to be showcasing any specific initials, names, or oracle messages that might be coming through right off the bat, as well as like the way that communication might be going in your first or your previous or in your next 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and see what you have here. So for you, I'll go ahead and zoom you in so you can see a little bit closer here. We first have L, I, and U showing up first. So there's nothing really showing up too much deeply with those, but then we also have the letter G and C. I am seeing like ICU, which don't take this too literally. I'm not seeing it like specifically as the ICU, but I'm seeing that like possibly some of you might be feeling more down, or there might be things around your mental or physical health that are going to be really important in these next 2 weeks and something to just be aware of. Other things that I was also getting here is like, I know that it doesn't fully say gig, but I did feel like the feeling of like a gig also showing up. Not that you're necessarily like a part of a band, like a gig like that, but I do think that there could be just like a really big event or something that you've had on your calendar for a while that might be showing up. This also showed up in group 1, so do feel free to check that one out if this one isn't fully resonating. But yeah, that's what I'm really getting here. You might be also seeing specific initials or other things, so do feel free to take your time and see what's showing up here for you. We're going to go ahead and move on to your numbers. So these might be specific numbers that are showing up as in specific dates that are going to be really important over these next 2 weeks, or you might also just see that it's specific spirit numbers, angel numbers, or numbers that have been really showing up to you heavily within signs and signals from spirit. You could also see it as the numerology involved with it. So let's go ahead and see what you have showing up here. Okay, so you had one that fell out specifically, so I want to see what that is first. So we have the number 2, and it's in red, so there might be something that's happening related to a partnership. So this could be any relationship in your life, but just, 2 people are involved, so a friendship, a relationship with a family member, a romantic relationship, or anything else, even a relationship with spirit. But there's something showing up here with partnership. We also have the number 13, as well as 9 showing up, and 6, as well as the number 10. So you might be seeing this as the 13th being really important. The 10th in the previous week, you could see 96, 16, 19th, however you want to see it, but do feel free to see what's really calling to you. Maybe it's the specific numbers, maybe it's a specific arrangement. You also might be seeing it in terms of those specific calendar dates. So feel free to take your time with these. Some of you, I know it doesn't always say a lot, but you might be seeing more as we move through the reading. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and move on to your big part of the reading, right? So we're going to be looking into the main energy coming through for you for the next 2 weeks. So this is going to be like the really important card, but not that it's going to be the most important thing, but it's the most prevalent or most constantly coming in kind of energy that we need to be signaled on for your next 2 weeks. So do feel free, as always, to send your energy through time and space. It really does make a difference with these to see what's coming through, especially when we're only pulling one card from the deck. So do feel free to take your time here and send your energy in as we shuffle these up together. Okay. So the one that I felt called to was just on top of here, and we have the Lovers, which, seeing as we're moving into our Valentine's Day week, there could just be a lot, especially since we had that partnership. We have the Lovers showing up here. There could be something more romance-based showing up, but outside of just romance or that idea of something connecting or correlating there, I really want to also stress that the Lovers card has a lot to do with making choices as well, right? Because when we fall in love with someone, it's not necessarily that falling in love is a choice, but being with someone is a choice. So you might be making a choice that might be related to partnership or to a relationship at this time. Maybe that's a choice to hang out with a friend. Maybe it's a choice with a family member, but there's something showing up here around choice. I also just got the feeling of guilt that just showed up here as well. So I do feel like there could be a little bit of guilt. It doesn't feel super heavy, but it feels like specifically there might have just been a situation that came in. Like I said, maybe you have a reason why you can't make it for a Valentine's Day thing, or you're feeling guilt around something around that. Outside of just like the holiday, I just feel like there might just be something showing up where you're just feeling like you can't, or you don't have the physical stamina or the mental capability to partake in something with someone, right? Like whether that's a hangout or just chilling with someone. But I do feel like there might be something showing up there for some of you. So we're going to look into more of these details though. So let's go ahead and move this aside. And let's start using the actual charm casting board to look into your next 2 weeks. So what I've been doing, if you're new here, what I've been doing for these last 2 week readings, I've been splitting the board into different sections. So here in the middle, this is going to be more information on that Lover's card and any more information on really big overarching energies that are showing up for you. And then here in this first noodle shape, we're going to be looking into your first week and the details specific to timing within that first week. And then again here with the second week using the tarot tiles and the charms. And anything that falls farther onto the mat, we'll talk more about there. But let's go ahead and look in with the tarot tiles first. So these are just some metal tiles with different tarot symbols and cards on them. So do feel free, as always, to send your energy on in, and we'll start mixing these up for you. Okay, so we don't have a whole lot falling into the second week here yet in terms of context, which isn't unusual, but we'll be seeing more here with the charms. But the things that we have showing up here is the Eight of Pentacles as your main energy alongside the Lover's card. So that's definitely giving us some more information on the idea that there might be a work thing that came up, a physical or health issue, or something like that that's showing up, that's showcasing that like you have to get something done, and maybe you're having to put something aside right now around a relationship in your life. But we also have the Four of Cups showing up here, upside down reversed, and we'll look into these here in a moment when we zoom in after looking into your charms. So do feel free, as always, like I said, this is a collective reading, do feel free to send your energy in. It really does make an energetic difference. So let's see what's coming in for you, group 3. goodness. They are flying. I still feel like there's a couple more. Okay. So the charms that we have showing up here in the center, we have the pendulum charm showing up here, which is all about trying to find a balance, right? If you've ever seen a pendulum, they're always in sync, they're always in balance, moving back and forth, trying to find that middle ground, that center. And like I said, right in the center here with that main energy for your next 2 weeks, we have alongside that Lover's card, the kind of tunnel vision card of the Eight of Pentacles. And the Eight of Pentacles with that pendulum and with the Lover's card is just showcasing more of that, like trying to find a compromise between work and your relationships within these next 2 weeks. And there's just something where it's just you're really trying to find that perfect bit, and maybe that's why that guilt is coming in, because maybe you can't, or there's something showing up where one is getting taken over by the other. But that is showing up here, some sort of conflict of heart and mind here for those next 2 weeks. But here alongside the other part of your reading here, I'll go ahead and zoom you out so you can see a little bit more. In your first week, we have at the top showing up here the Hanged One. So the Hanged One represents a new perspective, but you had it upside down and reversed. So this is showcasing to me that there's a perspective right now that you aren't seeing. And this showed up also in the second reading. So I do see that this is kind of showing up as sort of a blend between group 1 and group 2. So do feel free to check maybe the other 2 readings out if you're interested. But we also have the Four of Cups showing up here, which is all about finding a new perspective but not seeing it, right? They have all of these different cups at their feet, and they're looking away. They're not looking at this cup being offered to them. So there's something right now that is within the first week really hard for you to see, really hard for you to grasp. Maybe it's about that relationship work-life balance. Again, not being able to see where that middle ground is, not being able to see that opportunity, right? And sometimes it's something that we only see in hindsight. It's kind of like that, the feeling that I'm getting with this is like, you know, when you lose your keys and then you can't find them all day, and the moment you don't need them anymore, they like show up in your pocket. Like that's what it feels like. Like I feel like in this first week, you're trying to find those keys, and then by the second week, you found the keys, but it's kind of like too late, or just not as useful as it would have been, you know, a couple minutes earlier. And I really see that it might be puzzling you. It might be just really making it really difficult for you, or you're trying to find that missing piece. So just kind of take things slow. Don't put yourself so much pressure on yourself. It's kind of also reminds me of, and I don't know why I'm getting so many analogies here, but sometimes that's just how it is. But I'm feeling also the feeling that what might help you within this first week to find those missing pieces is to kind of relax, or to move away from the situation, kind of get a little bit more space from the situation, because it's reminding me of like when you also have like a thought on your tongue, or you're trying to think of how to spell something, or you can't remember that exact word or that person's name. It's right on the tip of your tongue, and the moment you stop thinking about it as well, it's like your brain unlocks it, and it's like, oh, here it is, that's how you spell green, right? So I really think what would be helpful for you is to just gain a little bit of space between you and what might be happening, that you're trying to find this puzzle piece, or this compromise, or this sort of balance between that pendulum, and really just give yourself a little bit more space, a little bit more ease from the situation. And I think that's gonna kind of lift up some of that pressure that you have on your brain trying to puzzle and figure it out. Other things you have showing up here on the moon cycles, so this could be specifically if you have a moon app or something like that, you can look into moon cycles and see if these align with the timing of the moons as of when you are watching this. Otherwise, it can just have a lot to do with the waning side of the moon, which is about release, about kind of letting things go, gaining that perspective. And you have the making memories charm, as well as the perspective charm, right? Whenever you're a photographer, right, you're looking with a specific lens, a specific focus, a specific target on mind. So this is about trying to make very very focused memories, or memories that you're hoping will last the test of time. So there's something about memory showing up here within that waning side. So I see you trying to release a little bit of that pressure of trying to make memories, or trying to do things perfectly, or trying to make the most romantic dinner, or whatever it might be for you, even if it's not romance based. I think that it's just going to help to gain a little bit of that ease. Also, you have the sort of universe charm. Whenever I see this, it just looks like an oil spill as well, right? Like oil on top of water. So I do see also that like gaining a little bit of space as well, like lifting yourself above the situation, just like oil would in water, would help a lot as well. And I think that that's what's really coming up here for that first week. Here on your second week, though, you do have something showing up sort of between the 2 weeks, and that is the energy of the Knight of Swords. And the Knight of Swords, interestingly, has a lot to do with the mind, right? The Knight of Swords is very quick, fast thinking. So it's making me think again, like when you give yourself a little bit of that ease, it's going to give you that bridge to be able to open something in your mind that you weren't able to access before. Alongside that, just in general, you might have a more quick moving week in the second week. Things just might be happening a lot faster, time moves a lot quicker, and maybe just tasks you get done a lot quicker as well. But there's a lot of fast moving motion happening within the second week from the first. Other things that you have showing up here, we have the solid love charm. This can be, again, related to any relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic, but whenever I see this one, it's like something that feels really solid, very stable, very good. So if there is anything that might be happening within that first week, that, or even just within the 2 weeks where you feel like you had to find that compromise, you might be feeling guilt there. It does seem to be being resolved in the second week, so that's showing up here. Outside of that, we have the taking the path less traveled charm. So if you guys know like the poem of like In the Yellow Wood, and I don't remember how it goes, but basically like they take the path less traveled and they're better for it, right? So whenever I see this is like taking the path that everyone takes, the main road, and then you're taking like the little deer trail through the forest. It's maybe not as easy, maybe not as quick, but it is something that you can find that new path. And so again, seeing as it's right next to that bridge and moving towards this way, I really think that things are going to be resolved between the weekend. Maybe that compromise will happen over the weekend between these 2 weeks. And when you ease up, that's when you're going to get that epiphany of like, oh, that's that other road that I could take. The last charm that we have here, we have the fork. This one I can't apparently pick up, but this one is, it always makes me think also of taking a unique path as well, or doing something a little bit more unique or a little bit different, a little bit more spontaneous. It makes me think of like the dongle hopper or doodle hopper, whatever it's called, in like the Little Mermaid, where she holds the fork, and instead of using it to like eat the food like you would normally, she uses it in a different way to brush her hair, right? And who says you can't use a fork to brush your hair, right? I mean, it's not the most conventional or maybe best way, but maybe your path is meant to be a little bit more unique, and whatever you end up doing might be better for it by taking a different route. So see what might show up there when you think a little bit differently, or flip things on its head and see what else might show up there for you in terms of not only this entire situation with that head and heart feeling of compromise, but just in general, anything that might show up in the second week where you're feeling a little bit stuck on it. Maybe try a completely different, unique path and see where that takes you, versus always kind of going the way you tend to. So overall, those are all of the charms and cards that you have here. I'm going to go ahead and show you these again if you want to look at them or screenshot anything. But yeah, if you did enjoy this reading, do be sure to give this video a like. It really helps the channel so much, so I really do appreciate it. Thank you. You can also let me know any feedback down below on the reading, how it resonated, or in general around the 2-week readings, or any readings you'd like to see in the future or future videos. And with that said, do feel free to subscribe, as we're getting really close to 1,000 subscribers. I've been doing these readings for 3 years on this channel and educational videos around tarot and charm casting, and I'd love to have you here if you want to look at those videos that I already have, or any new ones that I put out every single Monday. I'd love to have you here, so do feel free to subscribe. And also, if you want to look into any private readings that you could get, right now I'm doing relationship readings, so I could definitely see that some of you might be interested in that. So if you want to get a private personal reading where we can really go in depth outside of collective readings, where things can get a little bit more impersonal. These can get really specific for you on a specific reading that you could look into for any relationship. So this could be a relationship with spirit, a relationship with yourself, with a friend, with a family member, or a romantic relationship. Whatever you'd like to look into, I have both digital and snail mail reading options available in different tiers and different levels. So do feel free to check those out down below. I'll only be opening those for February. So those are down below if you want to check into them. They really support the channel, yourself, and these relationships that you're looking into, and I really do appreciate it. So with that all said, I'm going to go ahead and leave you there. Thank you so much for joining me here today on the channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.